Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Spooky Chicks and Horror Flicks. We are your hosts, Emma.
And I'm Allie.
And we are so happy to be back.
Yes.
We took a little short hiatus for the month of November, and I just have to shout out our producer really quick because he premiered a documentary film that he has been working on for the last year called Mile Marker 64. You can find it on YouTube. And that has been taking up a lot of our time, and we premiered it over Thanksgiving week. It was fantastic. We are now back in business on the pod. Go producer! Yeah. For those of you that don't know us, we are two best friends who love to drink wine or
White Claw
and talk about our favorite horror movies. Every couple weeks, we put out a horror movie episode that is a film that we have reviewed, and we talk about like fun facts, trivia, just kind of going play by play through the film.
You'll like us, we guarantee it. And if you're back from other episodes, thank you for liking us.
Yeah. And if you love us, please feel free to follow us on Instagram at Spooky Chicks and Horror Flicks, or you can leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or everything in between. We are on, I believe, like all major podcast platforms. We also have a Patreon if anyone is interested in supporting us for the podcast. We have a couple different levels ranging from, I think, $3 a month to $10 a month. And if you support our highest level, which is $10 a month, we will actually dedicate a whole episode to you. So thanks, everyone.
And it's the movie of your choice. Even if we don't want to watch it, we will.
The only thing is it's just got to be a horror movie.
Correct.
Like it can't be
Spice Girls movie.
But to arguably a horror film.
That it's
the
subjective.
alien scene that scared the shit out of me when I was a little Nina.
Oh, bro, I don't even remember that movie. But horror is subjective.
That is very true. And Allie, what are we going to be reviewing today?
Today we are reviewing Krampus, the 2015 film about a scary ass Santa Claus guy.
Man.
Yeah.
So we are reviewing Krampus. And before we dive at all into the film, we want to give a spoiler alert. So if you have not watched Krampus, please stop now and go watch the film before you listen to the rest of the episode. Or if you're fine with the spoilers, please proceed with caution.
And if you do want to stream it beforehand, it is on Peacock. I'll give you my login if you don't have Peacock. I might cancel it soon, so hit me up.
Yeah. You have a short window.
As you guys know, we like to enjoy a adult beverage while we do this, and while we don't do this, just like kind of always, but
at all times.
At all times. Emma, what are you drinking today?
I am drinking, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I am drinking a piece of shit wine from 7-Eleven because I'm really good friends with the lady that works there, and I like to see her pretty often. And so I go in and I get my bottle of wine a few times a week, and that's what I'm drinking. I don't even know what it's called, but I just know it's a Pinot Grigio.
If you don't have a 7-Eleven or just gas station friend, who are you? Speaking of gas station friends, you guys, I do like wine, by the way. But
she does. I promise.
White Claw is just a comfort buddy of mine.
I was literally going to say, I feel like it's your like emotional support alcoholic beverage.
Yes.
So Allie, how are you doing? How has everything been since our last ep?
It's been a minute. So there's been a lot going on. I know we have so much to catch up on. First of all, I got to see Stevie Nicks last week.
I am really upset about that, and I don't want to hear it. As if you heard a previous episode about Allie's concert privilege, this is it coming full circle.
It was like 2 concerts.
I'm just kidding. It was absolutely wonderful.
She's Queen Stevie. I cried, of course. I also saw Kenny Loggins with my parents, which was low-key bitchin'.
Oh my God, I bet that was...
Kevin Bacon came out.
What? You did not tell me that
I
part.
cried about that too.
I also really want to do Tremors one day on the pod.
Oh, yeah.
I was literally just thinking about that the other day. So, and I talk about it a little bit in this film, but anyways, proceed.
Yeah. So that was amazing. Been missing you guys. Happy to be back.
We have been missing you guys so much. And we've got like multiple messages from people on Instagram that are like, when's your guys' next episode? Like, we miss hearing you. Special shout out to our friends at Civil Gore podcast. They're the best. They're always rooting for us. But yeah, we also just recently went to an amazing event in Santa Ana called Creep It Real, but it's the festive version. So a lot of you might have already heard of it. It's an amazing kind of Halloween and horror. I would say it's almost like a carnival, but without like the rides and like the really shitty like people that run the games.
I would call it an experience.
Yeah.
Where you can also buy shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good vendors out there. You meet so many cool people. I mean, just a couple of special shout outs. We met so many people, so apologies if we don't get to everyone, but we got to see a few people that we actually met at Midsummer and have like maintained friendships with over the last, like, since we started the podcast. And special shout outs to our besties, the Ghoul Daddies.
We love the Ghoul Daddies.
Matthew and Paul. If you are not following them, make sure that you are following them on Instagram and on TikTok. They are fantastic. We also love Raoul of the Dead, who always does amazing photos at all of these events. And he's a pretty good friend of ours now. We've had a couple photos with him and, you know, we love posting them because they're just absolutely fantastic. We also want to give a little shout out to Lauren from Pumpkin Shop. She is amazing, has amazing bags, and she has like these little figurines and earrings. She also has this really fun book, which is kind of like Elf on the Shelf, but or at least that's how I describe it.
I would too.
But it's like a little pumpkin pal. It was amazing.
Yeah. If you haven't gone to it and you live in Southern California, or if you want to travel to it, highly, highly recommend. It was very well done. It was an awesome experience.
Yeah. And then we also got to meet Katie Afraidy. She has a horror discussion podcast and she is actually a comedian. And so she invites a lot of comedians onto her podcast to talk about these different films. And she was awesome. It was so awesome to meet her in person. And we're definitely going to collab with her soon.
Highly recommend all of that, all those people and everybody else we met. Loved it. Wanted to give another really special shout out to some lovely ladies, Kathy and Shannon of the Terror Talk podcast. They actually mentioned us in one of their more recent podcasts, and we've listened to a couple of their episodes. They're amazing.
They have such good banter, and I just love that they did an entire episode on horror podcasts that they recommend. And I think like Allie and I have talked about wanting to do something very similar one day where like it's just about kind of like shouting out others. And they have such good podcasts about horror movies, directors. I mean, they just did one on like classic movie monsters, they like Universal movie monsters.
And one just about Eli Roth.
I just was going to say that.
I love that.
Yeah, so cool. And then they also kind of talk a little bit about true crime as well. So they sort of like sprinkle in a few episodes there. And their episodes are really pretty short. I would say between like 30 and 40 minutes at the most. And so they're really nice and digestible. I think they put out multiple maybe per week. And they've been around since 2019. So definitely applaud them. That's like something like Allie and I kind of look up to. Like we hope to be doing that years from now as well.
You go girls, and we love this community so much because it's always, we all support each other. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, we love supporting others. So go follow them on Instagram. You can listen to them on Spotify, and I'm sure that they're on, you know, other top podcast streaming platforms as well. We love you, ladies.
Love you.
All right, everyone. So getting into one of our favorite next segments here, which is our trivia. And just for everyone that doesn't know, we always do 3 trivia questions at the very top of the episode that our producer has already picked out ahead of time that we have no idea what the answers are. And Ali and I will write down our answers. And then, you know, we encourage you guys at home to do the same. And then just, you know, you can tuck them away in your back pocket. And then at the end of the podcast, we will be revealing the answers. And then we will see if it is me or Allison who takes home the gold.
Or you, listener.
Or you. Yeah, maybe we just suck. Okay, so starting things off with question number 1. What does Krampus, derived from the German word Krampen, translate to?
Oh, shit.
I don't think I know this, but I'm going to make an educated guess.
I don't even know if my guess is educated. Okay, question number 2. How is Dorothy related to Max?
Okay, and then rounding things off with question number 3. What was the name of the supermarket in the opening sequence? Ooh.
Oh, shit.
Oh my God. I don't remember what it was called.
These are good ones.
These are really good ones.
You might have stumped me.
Okay, my answers are in.
I'm just taking a swing at all of these.
All right, those are our trivia questions for today's episode, and they are unfairly hard, producer, but whatever. But yeah, as a reminder, just tuck those away in your back pocket, and we will revisit the answers at the end of the podcast.
We're going to get into our basic plot and info about Krampus. And it's about a dysfunctional family fight causes a young boy to lose his festive spirit. Aww. Doing so unleashes the wrath of Krampus, a fearsome horned beast of ancient European folklore who punishes naughty children at Christmas time. As Krampus lays siege on the neighborhood, the family must band together to save one another from a monster. Krampus.
This film was made in 2015. And first fun fact is that they actually wanted this to come out, I believe, on like the 25th, right? The original release was supposed to be on November 25th, but then it was actually pushed back to December 4th so that it could coincide with Krampus, which is a traditional Austrian festival that's held on the 5th of December that celebrates the Krampus coming to punish the naughty children.
And they still like hold this holiday.
Yeah, I want to go.
I mean, low key, same.
Would love to go.
Go scare little kids.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of things in German and like Austrian and just kind of like that's like Northern European like folklore that could be very terrifying, and I kind of love it.
Also, happy this will be coming after Krampusnacht, but happy Emma and producer, happy almost Krampusnacht.
Yes, and for all of those who celebrate.
Yes. This film is rated PG-13, which was kind of interesting to me because, there's the first interesting, I think.
Todd.
Dang it, Todd. There's the first one for you. But I guess I get it because there's no like nudity or sex.
You don't really see either
blood,
like
blood
or like a major kind of crazy killing or anything like that.
But I don't think I would want my like 13-year-old to be able to see this. You have to be 13 for PG-13, right?
I have a totally opposite point of view, and I feel like I would totally let them watch it.
Really?
And the producer is shaking his head too, so I'm glad we're on the same page just in case we procreate one day.
When that day happens, yes.
In terms of, kind of who this was like written and directed by, this is special to us.
It's very special.
Because this was directed and partially written by Michael Dougherty, which if you guys remember, this is actually our second Michael Dougherty film because he wrote and directed Trick or Treat, which we did a couple episodes back. So if you have not listened to that episode, please feel free to go and check that one out as well.
Yeah, highly recommend that one because I gush over Trick or Treat.
Yeah. And there are actually a couple of different little Trick or Treat kind of Easter eggs, within this film, which I think is really awesome. And when we get into like the top billed cast, I also feel like this cast is
it's pretty stacked,
star-studded.
Yeah, it's very stacked. And obviously, I'm going to start with our Queen Toni. I love Toni Collette. She stars as Sarah, who is the mom, and we love her. And I'm going to ask you a random question. Answer really fast. What's your favorite Toni Collette movie?
Oh my God. This is so hard because it's not a movie, but I loved United States of Terror.
Oh, that was on mine too.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched it, United States of Terror, great show. Brie Larson.
So good.
And Aiden from Sex and the City. Go watch it.
Yeah, amazing. And then obviously she's very well known very recently for Hereditary, which is an amazing, amazing film.
I have a different view. Sorry, Morgan.
Oh.
Morgan made me watch it. Shout out, Morgan. We'll get to that one day on our podcast.
Okay. Yeah, no, we definitely will.
Also, I always am so impressed by her accent because she's Australian.
I literally was saying this to the producer. I go, this is so wild, but I only almost know her as an American because I haven't seen a lot of her interviews. I won't lie. So I haven't seen her in her like natural accent. And she just does such an amazing job at an American accent that you just could never think like she wasn't from the US. I don't know. It's just very interesting.
I wonder if she remembers how to have an Australian accent.
She probably does, but it's also like, I don't know. It's just so cool. And she has such a good range.
Yes.
We also have Mr. Adam Scott, he plays Tom, which is the dad in the film. He's one of the main characters. And a lot of this all takes place kind of at his and Sarah or Toni Collette's house. And
like all of it.
Yeah. And Adam Scott is known in the comedy realm, I feel like. He was on Parks and Rec. I don't even know. I'm blanking on anything else.
So he's in a bunch of just like obviously that and a bunch of random shit. He was also in a show called Party Down, that's also a stacked cast. Go watch it. I think it's like on Stars or something, but really, really funny show.
Yeah, he's amazing and he does such a good job as being Leslie Knope's love in Park and Rec, which is what I love.
Never seen it.
What?
Oh, that's a story for another day.
Oh God.
And then we have his name is MJ Anthony as Max. Yeah. So our little
he's kind of like our main character.
He's for a main character, yes, because of plot lines, but like we don't see him as much as other characters we see.
That is true. Yeah.
But he plays Max, the young boy who's losing his Christmas spirit.
And he is Sarah and Tom's son.
And like he's the one who low-key fucks it up for everyone.
Yeah. Hence main character
yes,
vibes.
He also happens to be in some of my favorite movies, like Chef.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's the little kid in Chef. He's also in Bad Moms and Bad Moms Christmas.
Oh my God, I love Bad Moms.
I love Bad Moms Christmas.
Actually, yeah, I do like that one the
best.
Put
that on loop for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, and apparently on set, he was quite the little flirt, just flirting it up with all the women.
Oh my God. God.
He's a little cutie.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
And then we have, how do you say his name? David.
Cochner or Kochner.
Yeah, and he plays Uncle Howard. And just a heads up to everybody, I call him Uncle Eddie throughout this whole synopsis.
Did you read my notes ahead of time? Because I literally said he gives Uncle Eddie from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation vibes. 1000%.
So just know that if I say Uncle Eddie, I mean Uncle Howard. Like legit in my notes.
So we're telling everyone now.
And he's a funny man too. He's an anchor man and just like a random funny guy in a bunch of movies.
And then his wife in the film is Linda, who is played by Allison Tolman. She's also kind of one of those characters who I feel like she plays a really good sort of supporting role in a lot of different comedies. And then we have Conchata Farrell, which is Aunt Dorothy.
Oh, so the only thing I know her from, I probably know her from a lot more, but is Mr. Deeds.
Yes. Oh my gosh. But she's also one of those, like, there's just a lot of great characters in here that are in, I feel like, a lot of comedy movies, and they're kind of usually playing, like, supporting the main character in some way, but they're so well known. You know that you have seen these people in multiple films.
It's like, I used to know her name. It's like the one that plays the best friend in 13 Going on 30. What's her name?
I don't know her name.
See?
But I know, I can picture her
it's like her
face.
And she wrote a book called You Know Me from That One Thing.
That makes perfect sense.
It's like, we know you, and you're in all of those little one things, but
I'm pretty sure she's also the daughter in the newer Halloween movies. Like, she's Laurie's daughter. I need to fact check that. So
this is going to bother the shit out of me. I'll figure it out.
This film got a 6.2 out of 10 on IMDb, which I feel like was pretty good for it. We didn't love this film. Yeah. So, which I know, is weird for me because I can find something to love about almost all of them. Mm-hmm. But it really pained me to watch this multiple times. I'm not going to lie.
Low-key, same. I was like, I woke up and I was like,
I gotta get through it. We were doing the podcast episode.
It's kind of a slow burn, but we'll get to that. On Rotten Tomatoes, it got a tomato meter of 66, which I think is pretty on par with like a IMDb score. Also high in my opinion. And the audience score was 52%, which is probably more on key with what I would give it.
I agree. Yeah. One thing that I want to touch on, just because we kind of were just talking about this, is that Michael Dougherty purposely wanted sort of the first half of the film to feel kind of like a Christmas movie, which I think it does have the Christmas movie vibes. It has the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation vibes.
Did you read my notes?
No, I didn't.
I have, it's like a fucked up, darker
yes, totally,
National Lampoon.
And then like the second half of the film is really where things start to get, a little creepy, where we actually see Krampus. Before we get further with Krampus, I also wanted to kind of visualize the Krampus creature for you guys who don't know what that looks like or haven't watched the movie. Krampus, if you can imagine, is sort of this demonic creature. Michael Dougherty actually describes him as like the shadow of St. Nicholas, who has horns and walks, upright on some hooves, like very large hooves. And he has this weird, like gaping looking mouth that the producer and I didn't really love. But we'll get into that. We can get into that like a little bit later.
No, I mean, it's just a fun fact. I wrote in my notes like Krampus low-key can't shut his mouth, like ever, no, physically. He doesn't speak. He just can't physically shut his mouth.
Yeah, which we'll get into later, but we sort of felt like it took away a little bit from the character because it's just like he doesn't have movement in his face really at all. The final design of Krampus too was distilled from like postcards, illustrations of this like creature from over the years, and it has very European influences, as this is something that they like truly believed in like Germany and Austria.
And I was watching an interview with Christoph Waltz, and he says they still believe and do this. He's like, Christmas in America is more like Elf on the Shelf bullshit.
Or Coca-Cola.
Yes, Coca-Cola. And he's like, no, you guys do this in a very different way than we do. But like Krampus, he looks after the naughty children and punishes the naughty children. And that's sort of like in America, we have little Elf on the Shelf who does the same thing. They're like,
oh my God, he's like a baby Krampus. Yeah. He like grows up to be a big Krampus.
Or he's just like a very lame Krampus.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm giving us way too much credit for Elf on the Shelf.
Yeah. Come on, America. And we talked a little bit about Michael Dougherty, who directed this film and wrote part of it, and who also did one of my favorite films that we covered, Trick or Treat. And you can see a lot of odes to that in this movie. And a lot of them I didn't catch, but I also didn't bother to go back and look for them because, again, this movie is a little hard to get through. We're just really encouraging everyone to watch this one. But apparently we get a little shot of the Sam's lollipop from Trick or Treat in a candy scene.
Very iconic.
Yes. Same with at the beginning of the movie, there is a TV broadcast that says Season's Greetings, and that was a short that Michael Dougherty wrote about Sam of Samhain in Trick or Treat.
And that kind of inspired the Sam character.
Totally.
Right? Yeah.
And also didn't see that. Also didn't bother to go back and watch. And in a deleted scene, they talk about the fictional town of Warren Valley, Ohio, that Trick or Treat was set in.
Oh, I did not catch that.
I mean, it was deleted, so why would you? I just dug for shit.
I like it.
I think the most interesting fact to me was that they made the majority of the fake snow out of diapers, and that seems very expensive and an odd use of material.
That actually kind of makes a little bit of sense.
Does it?
We're going to get to the scene, but in the very beginning of the film, when Max is having the fight in his like Christmas play.
Yeah.
And he takes a thing of snow. It's fake snow, like in the film, quote
Right.
unquote fake snow, but it looks like
Diapers
that have been just like ripped up. Even though I know the snow in the actual film is supposed to be the diapers, but I wonder if it was repurposed for that scene as well.
Probably, but also like, do you know a lot about what shredded diapers look like?
No, but I can imagine.
Now we do know
Yeah.
because we saw it on this movie.
That's true.
The last thing that I thought was compelling and not interesting.
Ooh, good word.
It's actually really not that compelling, is apparently when the power goes off in the house, you can see the Amityville horror house across the street, which I will actually go back and see if I can see that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because I love the story of Amityville horror.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. All right, everyone. Now we are getting into the film.
The Krampus.
The Krampus. So this film opens up with a really funny scene. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas starts playing before you even see anything, and you're like, okay, this is gonna be really sweet. And then it's this super chaotic scene of people like being let into a department store, like some kind of big store, like a Walmart, so to speak. And it's giving Black Friday, Christmas Eve shopping vibes, where people are literally trampling over each other to try to get the last of whatever products that they're trying to buy.
It's like crazy consumers, depressed employees, scary mall Santa, everybody's
Capitalism,
like my worst nightmare.
literally.
Who goes to malls anyways?
Yeah.
These days?
And it's all kind of in like slow-mo, and it sort of reminds me, Allie, I feel like you'll agree with me. If you guys have watched Mean Girls, you know of that slow-mo kind of fighting scene when they're in the mall, and it's supposed to emulate like animals fighting at the watering hole in Africa, and it's all like slow-mo, and like there's a lot of close-ups of people's expressions and stuff. This is that scene.
But we get introduced to some of our main characters. We see kind of some tussle happening, and we see Beth, our sister.
We see Beth.
And she's like holding up her phone, kind of smiling.
She's recording it. She's like, this is awesome.
And the parents are running out and like, what the fuck? And we see Max getting into a fight with some kid. They're doing the nativity scene. Also, why are they doing a performance at a mall for their school? I don't know. That part confused me. Anyways, it's a crazy consumer driven and everybody's worst nightmare at Christmas scene to kick it off.
Yep. And a fun fact about this too is that this sequence in the store was actually filmed all in one day in a department store in New Zealand, which was kind of fun. So then, we see mom and dad kind of break up this fight that Max is having, and then they leave the mall and they're coming back to their house. And upon like entering their house, it looks like a very standard kind of family home prepping for the Christmas holiday. There's like food being made, and, we see a grandmother figure who we end up knowing as Omi, which is Max and Beth's grandma, and she is making some cookies. And we actually see a cool little clip of Omi, and she's watching a very old version of A Christmas Carol kind of in the background. Max, as he kind of enters the house, is a little bit frantic because they're all prepping for other family members to like join them for the next few days for the Christmas holiday, and they've got dinner that they're preparing. And Max is kind of just like, wait, mom, dad, like Beth, like, are we not gonna watch, Charlie Brown Christmas and wrap presents? And he seems he's just like everything's going so fast. Like, can we all just kind of like slow down and like celebrate Christmas? And you're kind of getting already this feeling from Max that he truly like just loves the Christmas holiday and the family traditions that he's like used to.
That's funny. Tradition. I guess Michael Dougherty really likes traditions.
He loves traditions.
We talk about that in our Trick or Treat episode too. Meanwhile, he's in trouble for getting into a fight. And dad's calling him on his shit. Like,
he's like, you didn't have to frickin' tackle the guy.
Yeah. And so we're getting the family dysfunction right off the bat, like Max is in trouble, but he still wants to be a kid and believe in Santa and do all the fun shit.
Yeah.
And Dad, again, I'm really bad at these names, so I'm going to call him Dad.
Tom.
Dad is his name.
Dad.
Daddy.
Oh, no.
No, I know. He's not a daddy, to me at least. But he is taking a work phone call, and Mom is like, "What the fuck, you're working?" And he's like, "Yeah, I agreed to no traveling, not working." So we're getting that from him. We see the stress in Mom knowing that extended family's coming.
Yep.
Beth is horny Beth because she just wants to be on her phone and fuck her boyfriend.
Yep.
And Grandma's the only one that's like encouraging Max to still believe in the magic of Christmas.
And she asks Max, have you finished writing your letter to Santa? And he's like, no, not yet. I need to finish that, what have you. And, then we see Sarah and Beth, so mom and daughter, they go into another room to hang their Christmas portrait that they just took at the mall. And
that was a fast turnaround.
Yeah, I know. I was like, okay. And as they're hanging it, they're both kind of just talking about the extended family that's going to be coming over. And Beth kind of makes a comment. She's like, Mom, well, like they're just so awful. Like one of them pooped in my bed last time that they were here. And it's this whole thing. She really doesn't want them to come over. And her mom, Sarah, is, just like, but they're family, blah, blah, blah. And Beth says, they shouldn't be allowed to procreate, or like they shouldn't be allowed to breed, is what she says. And Sarah kind of calls her out and is like, I didn't say that. And she says, well, Mom, those were your words, not mine. So it's kind of funny and kind of setting up this like dynamic with their extended family that's going to be coming over. Then we go back to a shot with Max and Omi, and they are talking about Santa. And, Omi is telling Max about how she believes that he truly is like the spirit of giving and the spirit of sacrifice.
AKA setting us up for
what's going down.
Totally.
Then we kind of change settings, and now we are in Beth's room, and she is, FaceTiming her boyfriend on her computer, and he's trying to convince her to come over to his house, which is only about 4 blocks away. And he has a candy cane looking bong that he's trying to entice her with. And he's like, well, doing so-and-so with your family sounds fun, but look at this. Like, this sounds a lot more fun. And she's like, there's no way, I can't come over, what have you. And he just kind of reiterates, it's only 4 blocks. So you already start to get that kind of in your mind. Like, the boyfriend lives pretty close by. And that's going to come into play a little bit later. Then you actually see the house kind of start to shake a little bit. And no one is concerned by this at all because they all know that this is in anticipation of Uncle Howard and Aunt Linda coming in their huge Hummer vehicle.
It's giving, like we said a million times already,
consumerism.
No. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh, yes.
Like,
yeah.
When
like
they roll
Uncle
up,
Eddie is coming. Or Cousin Eddie.
Cousin Eddie. Oh, his name is, it's Cousin Eddie, huh? Well, today for me, he's Uncle Eddie. Sorry for the confusion.
It's a mashup.
Yes, but when he rolls into town in that massive RV with a bajillion kids and a disgusting dog.
And that is exactly what happened. So yeah, in this film, they knock on the door. They're here. They have all their kids. They've got 4 kids, actually. They have 2 daughters that have some more masculine qualities,
and
I would
names.
say. And names,
names.
Stevie and Jordan. Then they have a younger son, Howie Jr., who doesn't really speak. He's kind of like a little chubby kid. He reminds me of...
Yes. Did you note this too?
No, I did. I just thought of it in my head.
Oh my gosh. So... Well, hopefully it's the same thing I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
It is very reminiscent to me of
Charlie.
Charlie in Trick or Treat. He's the little kid whose head gets cut off.
Yeah.
Spoiler. Sorry. Yeah. Well, too late now. But he looks like him. He acts like him. And it's the same director. So I was like,
I'm like, wait, is it him?
No, it's an ode to Charlie. I was like, oh my. And I thought that was great.
Yep. Then Linda, who is Sarah, the mom's sister, so Aunt Linda, Howard's wife, she comes in and she's like, I got a little surprise for you. And she brings their Aunt Dorothy. And Sarah has a very surprised and disappointed look on her face that she's definitely not trying to hide at all. And, she's like very not excited about it. And Aunt Dorothy is played by Conchata, which I think is who we kind of had talked about earlier in our top billed cast. And she's kind of known for playing these characters. And she immediately, you can just tell she is one of those characters that is just not a joy to experience. And one thing I love that she says though is immediately she's like, "Where's the nog? I want to get Mary." And I love that line because same.
That's our girl.
Yeah. I'm
We'll get Mary with you.
I'm like, we would be hanging out with Aunt Dorothy.
Yes. All the family they kind of don't want to be there is there, but it's family, you know? And we have our dinner.
And Howie Jr. is chugging down a liter, like Mountain Dew looking type drink that's like bright green. And Howard, Uncle Howard / Cousin Eddie, is like, "I'm getting Howard Jr. into game shape. He's going to be the biggest linebacker in high school in the state, like once he gets there." And, you know, it's just
this little really pudgy.
That's this poor kid. Gonna have heart failure before he's like 16.
Legit. You know, watch that cholesterol,
watch
kid.
your levels, brother. And Uncle Howard also is kind of talking with Tom, who's, you know, the dad, and this is his home that they're hosting Christmas at, and kind of talking about what he likes to do. And he kind of makes some allusions to having guns. And, you know, he's like, a shepherd always needs to protect their flock. And he kind of gives Tom a little bit of flack for growing up being like an Eagle Scout,
which is an accolade.
Very much so. And it kind of comes into play later in the film because it's his survivor. We were just watching Survivor, so it's very much in my head. His survival skills.
Kevin loves Survivor. That just reminded me I should watch that. But so basically, like, most of the extended family that's come is fucking ragging on everything that this host family is that they've come to visit.
They're like complaining about the food. Mm-hmm. They're like, "Did Martha Stewart throw up in here?" You know, just really like bringing down Sarah, the mom. And all of like the hard work that she's trying to do to like make these people have a good, nice Christmas, you know? Well, Sarah ends up leaving the table because she's like, "I can't handle this anymore. Like, I just slaved over making dinner for these people. I'm hosting them at my house for Christmas. They're like making fun of the food. They just like, they're not happy." And Aunt Dorothy kind of is in the kitchen, I think, getting some more spiked nog, which honestly, I don't knock her at all. And Sarah actually kind of flips out on her for being rude. And she's like, "You know what? Why don't we have Christmas next year at your trailer after you've been slaving all day doing all this stuff?"
Also, mind you, Linda and Uncle Eddie Howard kind of talk about how, oh, these are rich people. These rich people always have more presents, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, they have a Hummer?
I also thought that this was very confusing.
Isn't that an expensive car?
So then at the dinner table, Max is sitting across from his cousins, Stevie and Jordan.
So back to the ragging on the entire host family. I'm just going to call them the host family because that makes the most sense in my brain.
I don't know why that reminds me of the movie The Host, which is like a horror movie that we might do one day.
Potentially. That's a weird one. The two older female cousins, Stevie and Jordan, are fucking with Max about Santa. They say, you know, his sleigh crashed, blah, blah, blah. And then they do something even more fucked up because keep in mind, this 8 to 10-year-old, whatever range she's in, is still trying to see if he believes in Santa. He still has hope. He wants to do the traditions. So they take his fucking letter to Santa and read it out loud at the dinner table.
Such an invasion of privacy.
Totally. That's like mail fraud.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Dude.
And it's sadder because his letter is actually super kind of sweet, and
it is sweet.
All he wishes for is his family to reconcile and be happier and do things that they used to do, parents be in love like they used to be.
And one of his like items in his letters, he literally says, "I wish things weren't so hard for Aunt Linda and Uncle Howard." Mm-hmm. And as Stevie's like reading the note, you can tell she's like kind of like, "Oh shit, like that was like actually really sweet and genuine." And then she reads a little further. We don't know exactly what Max said, but then she just blurts out to him. She's like, "Dad does not wish we were boys." And then a tuffle ensues from here. Max is like, "You guys don't read my letter." Stevie and Jordan are upset that they've been called boys. It's like this whole thing. And then as a result of this tuffle at dinner, Max gets really upset and just like tells his whole family, he's like, "I hate Christmas and I hate all of you." And then he just like storms back up into his room.
And then Dad comes to, you know, console with Max and be like, "Yo."
Yo, dude.
Yo, dude.
What's up, son?
What's up, buddy? And basically Max is like, why do we have to put up with this family bullshit during the holidays or ever?
He's like, we don't even like these people. We have nothing in common with them. Like, what's the point?
And Dad says the most depressing thing to me, and it says, because that's what a family is. People you try to be friends with, even though you don't have a lot in common. And I was like, that's so depressing.
It's very depressing. But then he kind of turns the leaf a little bit, and he's like, but sometimes it does force you to try to find things in common with them.
But Max is still family, Christmas spirit. I don't know what to do.
He has this like ideal picture of Christmas, I think, in his head. And he's just really wishing that everything, his family, the letter to Santa, everything would all play a part to like fit that ideal for him.
Don't we all have an ideal of Christmas?
Same.
Mine is basically going into Christmas land from A Nightmare Before Christmas. And that hasn't happened for me.
Same. But maybe my mind just went to a weird place. I'll say, what if we take some drugs and try to get there?
Hey, let's not be the guy that took drugs at Disneyland and got off the ride at It's a Small World.
No, because that man was naked and he is now a sex offender.
Correct. Anyways, so the dad is trying to be like, Christmas is still cool, man. Still believe in the Christmas spirit.
Yeah, he's don't diminish what you feel just because our family kind of sucks.
And he says, there's still time to mail your letter to Santa because you haven't done that yet. And again, he's toying with the idea, do I believe? Do I not? Do I mail this letter? So we kind of get this uplifting moment where it could have turned this movie around real fast.
Yeah, Max is like packaging up his letter like he's actually going to send it off, and it's all like light, and I think the music is light. And then he like looks at it with this just pure like sadness and anger in his eyes, and then he rips his letter completely up in the envelope and everything and then tosses it out the window. So this is the point in the film where things really start to take a true turn. And after Max tosses the letter out the window, we see like this overhead shot of the weather changing. So it's obviously like snowy wherever they're at, but we start to see these really dark, ominous clouds coming in over the house. And you just know that he has activated some sort of, I don't know,
magic, dark
like
magic,
the opposite of a Christmas wish.
Yeah,
yeah, some dark Krampus, Krampus magic. And everyone goes to bed, and then the next morning, the weather has really taken a turn, and now we are in kind of a blizzard, whiteout sort of state.
They have no power. They have no neighbors to consult with because they're either not talking to them or they're
on vacation.
And there's a fucking sketch ass snowman in the yard, apparently.
Yeah, Max looks out the window and he's trying to tell everyone, like, everyone's kind of freaking out, like, oh, the power is out. What are we going to do? Blah, blah, blah. And Max is like, have y'all seen this random ass snowman that's in our front yard? Because, like, who the hell built that?
It could have been me.
I don't know why I went into this accent, but it feels relevant for the moment.
Sure.
And literally, we don't really get that question answered at all.
That's very true. I didn't think about that.
I mean, we obviously can allude to, like, it's obviously Krampus and someone in the Krampus circle.
But what was the purpose?
No idea.
I thought it would have had a purpose.
I know.
Spoiler, it doesn't.
It doesn't. And, the next thing we see is there's actually somehow a DHL package delivery man who is still out and working, and he shows up at the house. Aunt Linda answers, and she kind of signs for a package. And then they see like an old school looking Santa's sack, like filled with a few gifts. And, she...
Sack.
Okay, so weird. I think we've already mentioned this, but we are all 13-year-old boys here
yes.
at Spooky Chicks and Horror Flicks, including the producer.
Living in a 30s bodies.
Yeah. Anyways, back to the sack. So they see this like sack of presents. Aunt Linda kind of she says to the DHL man, oh, are these them too? And he makes a little comment. He's like, oh, I didn't deliver those. That must have been the boys in brown, alluding to UPS. And so they bring those packages in as well. We don't hear anything about the packages for a little bit. We do address them later in the film, but those are some rogue packages that got in. Then Beth is trying to convince her parents to let her walk to her boyfriend's house. Can we talk about this for a second?
So what I'm going to say is she's probably like 16. I probably would have been like the same. Like, he lives close. I want to see him.
I have actually lived within walking distance to one of my boyfriends when I was about that age. Back when I lived with my parents, I was in high school. I still don't think my parents would have let me walk if it was like a straight up storm like that. I feel like if it was snowing, different story, just regular snow. But the fact that it's like a blizzard / whiteout, it's very windy. I'm sure it's cold as hell. There's just a lot of chance for something to potentially go wrong. And like, do we need to see each other that bad?
Like, no. Also, we have family here. It's the holidays.
I don't know.
Do they know that Derek has a candy cane themed bong?
They probably don't.
Well, anyways,
But they should.
Yeah. Horny Beth wants to walk through this
Horny
blizzard
Beth,
to
that's
see horny Derek. And
I forgot his name was Derek because he's so insignificant.
yeah, we don't see Derek.
That's very true. We don't see Derek again.
They allow her and they say, you have an hour. Be back in an hour. You have to hang out with your...
Which is also crazy to me. You can't freaking walk somewhere in a blizzard. It's going to take you 30 minutes to get there and not even going to be back in an hour.
Whoa, you just started speaking a different language. They do allow it and she needs to be back in an hour. I've never walked 4 blocks in a blizzard, so I can't attest to how long that might take.
I've actually walked somewhere in some pretty inclement weather, and it takes a long time.
Well, apparently...
Shannon, Shelby, shout out to you too. I've been in bad weather situations with both of you where we've been trying to walk somewhere and not even in blizzard weather.
Well, I'm glad you're all here.
I'm here today to tell the story.
But so they let Horny Beth go out for an hour. So she's walking through this blizzard and then it just like literally suddenly turns completely dark, like pitch black, essentially.
If it wasn't already ominous, now it is.
Yeah. This is where the ominous really starts to ramp up. And basically she's walking and we get our first like low key sighting of Krampus. He's bouncing around on rooftops. Right?
Yes. She's like walking down the street. There's no one out, obviously. Well, she hears jingle bells. And so she's kind of already looking around like, what the hell is that? And then you see him hop onto a roof. And we do get that kind of like silhouette outline of him. We don't see like a lot of detail because it's like from her perspective down on the ground. But then he hops over her head onto the roof of the opposite house across the street that she's walking on. And she starts to fucking book it. She's like, okay, I'm out of here, which honestly, good for her because a first girl, Allie, you would know about this, would be like, what is that? I'm going to go check it out. Oh, what's that guy up there on the roof?
What I will say is, yes, good for her for being like, fuck, I don't need that D. I need
Eric.
to go.
Derek.
D Eric. I need to get home because there is a monster on the roof. What I will say, she had the final girl mentality, but she had a first girl horniness that led her.
She thought with her vagine versus her heart.
Yeah.
Or no, her brain. Oops, sorry. Wrong analogy. But you guys get what I mean. You know what I mean.
But so she sees Krampus like hopping around, or the shadow of Krampus, and she sees a car. So is it the DHL car?
Yeah, it's like the DHL van. And when she walks up to it, she actually tries to open up the driver's side door, and the DHL driver is inside and he is frozen and he looks like he's like terrified, almost like he's been like frozen in fear.
She's hiding under this DHL van, and we actually get to see some hooves. I was like, what is that word? Hooves. So obviously Beth is freaking the fuck out, as anyone would.
And she's like trying not to scream.
Yeah, because
she's doing the classic like hold your hand over your mouth. I don't know if that works.
I was just gonna say, how many times does that work?
Yeah.
Obviously Krampus knows she's there because he keeps walking around it. And then we see this mysterious like music box. Is it a Jack in the Box?
It's technically a Jack in the Box because it's like the ones that pop out of the box.
Oh, I thought it was a music box.
So this is actually going to come into play later.
Wait, this makes sense.
And she's like looking because she doesn't have Jack in the Box right next to her. It's kind of like right outside the van where like she's underneath it. And she looks and it pops open, but the Jack in the Box does not pop out. But we see his little head kind of like snake up into it. And then this is a foreshadowing because we're going to see the Jack in the Box later in the film.
I watched this movie on my phone, so I'm pretty sure I didn't get all those details that I should have.
I caught this one after watching it a couple times because the Jack in the Box comes into play later.
From there, we see an aerial shot of the car shaking, the DHL van shaking, and we hear screams. So assuming, she's getting killed or getting taken.
You don't see anything, but it's definitely like implied that she's like being totally attacked.
However, what I'm going to say is horny girls die first. Put that on a t-shirt.
Oh my God. Wow.
You're welcome.
We're definitely going to make a shirt. First girl, horny girl. Same thing. Same.
Same. First girl equals horny girl.
Correlation.
Yes. So Beth has seemingly been either taken or unalived. And back at the house, everybody's concerned because Obviously, Beth has been gone for over an hour. It's dark. There's a blizzard, blah, blah, blah. And dad is like, we got to go get her. We got to go find her and do whatever it takes. Mom's obviously in support of that because it's their daughter. So he enlists Uncle Eddie Howard, to go and take the Hummer.
Tom asks, he's like, Howard, do you think she can make it? Do you think your truck can make it through this? And he goes, oh, Lucinda, which I thought was kind of funny because it's kind of similar to Linda, which is his wife.
Interesting.
It's like the little bad girl.
Isn't Lucinda kind of a witch, like a witchy name?
Sure.
Okay. Gearing up to go and try and find Beth at horny boyfriend's house, and the grandma said not go out because just don't. It's a bad idea. Blah blah blah. This is where we learn that Tom can speak German as well.
Yep.
And understand German, and so that was news to me. It's clearly his mom.
Yep.
But they don't listen to her, and they go out in Lucinda anyways.
And Uncle Howard is very, I think, excited too at the prospect of having this like recon mission with Tom. He's kind of like, wow, bud, I thought you'd never ask. Like, like he's like stoked about it. Like for him, this is like, obviously he wants to find his niece, but it's also like kind of a fun time for him. And, as they go out and they take the Hummer or Lucinda out, they are running into a couple of things. First of all, it's goddamn freezing. And I mean like more than they're probably used to living in the Midwest, which can tell you something there. And, they're trying to even find some sort of frequencies on the radio, and nothing is working. And they're both kind of like, this is just weird. And Howard and Tom actually end up finding on their way to Derek's house, like this abandoned snowplow on the road. And they kind of like check it out for a second. And they notice that not only are the keys still in it, but it looks like the windshield is like kicked inward
from the outside.
Yeah, like not outward, which probably has some questions going in there. And they don't say it out loud, but I think it's kind of cool because like as the viewer, you're kind of asking the same questions. Like if you were to stumble upon something like that, you're like, something was trying to get in.
No, Tom says it.
Out.
Tom's like,
oh, does
this
he?
Is fucked up. Yeah, Tom says.
Oh, I think he says, why is it like inward?
Yeah, he's like, something was trying to get in, not out.
Totally. Scary. And at this point, Howard actually goes to the back of the Hummer and then he grabs his guns that he has in some. I will applaud his gun safety because he does not have them just like out and about. Like, he has several children. He has them in like some lock boxes. I love this one part. Uncle Howard has this huge kind of like rifle looking gun. I know nothing about the guns. Then he gives Tom like a pistol looking gun and Tom's like, man, this is super heavy. And he goes, yeah, that's Linda's. And I thought that was really funny. So I kind of loved that. We switch gears and we're back at the house. And back at the house, it's Sarah, it's Aunt Linda, the kids, and Omi. And they hear some rumbling kind of coming from like the second level of the house / like the roof. They can't really tell exactly where it's coming from. And they kind of make a joke like, oh, it just must be squirrels. And Aunt Dorothy's like, squirrels, huh? Playing with their nuts? Like, she's like, that would not cause this much fucking rumbling, especially in this weather. And that's kind of happening at the house. And you're sort of like, oh, shoot, is something going to happen like while Tom and Uncle Howard are gone?
So Uncle Eddie and Tom get to horny Derek's house.
There's horny Beth. Everyone's horny.
I know, right? So they get to that house and it's open. It looks like the blizzard has blown in there. Everything's covered in like, snow and
it's in absolute disarray.
Yeah. It's clearly not okay. Nobody's there and
no signs of life.
They're exploring, trying to find if Beth is there or anybody. Obviously, it's weird because who wants to stumble upon their young daughter's boyfriend's family's house like that? So we're in the kitchen and we see a gingerbread man stabbed with a knife onto the fridge, which is, I don't know if that's even possible, but this is our first indication of a gingerbread man, which is why I was like, this is going to be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it is. And we also see hoof prints in the snow and inside the house. And they're like, what the fuck is this? It's
inside the house, hooves.
Uncle Eddie being the hunter, he's like, well, that's like...
He's all, maybe elk.
Yeah. And then Tom being the more sensible one is like, pretty sure that's not the case.
Or what does he say? He's like, what kind of elks walk on their hind legs?
Yes.
Ugh. I don't know why that makes me like, it reminds me of like, is it skinwalkers that are supposed to have like hooves or like, you know what I'm talking about? Like in real like actual folklore.
Yes.
I don't know. It makes me like, my hair stand up on its edge.
I know what you're talking about and I'll find it before the end of this podcast and be like, wait, but I know what you're talking about.
Or Black Phillip.
Oh my God.
Allie's over my obsession with Black
I'm so
Phillip.
over Black Phillip.
Dost thou want to live deliciously?
Anyways, so they're like, what the fuck is this? And then we start to hear some screaming outside. And it sounds like it could be Beth screaming. So they're like, oh shit. And they run outside. And this is where I've discovered that snow can eat people. Because Uncle Eddie, Howard, starts to become consumed by the snow.
And it reminds me of...
Tremors?
Okay, so this is two-pronged. Yes, it reminds me of Tremors, because if you have seen the movie Tremors, you know that you can kind of see a tremor sort of coming because you can see the dirt on the ground kind of like
Coming towards you and away from you.
yeah, like you can just like kind of tell. And then my second prong is Uncle Howard gets thrashed around, sort of like in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective when Ace Ventura goes to that rich man's house, the party, and he finds the shark in the tank and he gets thrashed around, and it's very comedic. And this is sort of what it looks like. So Uncle Howard gets like, we don't see the thing that's like under the ground that's sort of like thrashing him around.
We said like a snow snake trying to consume
Snow snake.
consume Uncle Eddie, and it also looks like he's in snow quicksand.
Yes.
So
at the
he's
same
getting,
time.
he's like, I'm getting, something's biting me, something's got me. We don't know what that is, and I don't think we like learn actually what that is. And then Tom gets all hot. He's like, I'm gonna save you, and he saves Uncle.
Well, you know what comes out is that Eagle Scout him. You know what I mean?
What badge is that, bitch? But anyways, so he saves him. Uncle Eddie Howard is still, he's hurt. So we're like, we got to get him back to the fucking house. They discovered that Lucinda, poor Lucinda.
Oh my God, she is gone.
She'd been destroyed, girl.
Lucinda been Lucinda.
Oh, that was good. That was nice.
I was thinking like disintegrated.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
You were
picked
catching,
up what you put down.
You
Yeah.
were catching what I was throwing.
Yeah. So they're like, fuck, but we still have to get back to the house because obviously this isn't working. So we get back to the house and Eddie is hurt and kind of like freaking the fuck out, obviously. And
Well, think about how terrifying that is. Like, you're like,
Dude.
you can't even walk in the snow without
Yeah.
something being like underground.
Tom doesn't want to freak the family out too much because we have to come up with a game plan. So they have like a adult moment where they're like, what the fuck? What do we do? And Omi, the grandma, looks at Tom and she like knows what's up and basically says with her eyes, you fucking dumbass. I told you not to go out there.
I also want to make a note too that while the like quote unquote adults are talking, it's just the parents, like Omi and Aunt Dorothy are like, you know, they're kind of off to the side. But Omi is in the kitchen and we see a lineup of very sharp knives on the kitchen island. So Omi picks up a cleaver and she kind of looks at it. And so to me, it's almost like Omi is sort of like, she knows shit's about to go down. So she's
Dude.
almost kind of preparing.
Bitch knew.
She did.
Like
she's
the
wise.
entire time I'm like,
She's goddamn wise.
couldn't we have talked about this earlier, you know?
Right? Totally.
So while she's talking to Tom with her eyes, but also her voice, she says, don't let the fire go out,
yes.
which is important.
Super important. Like she says, keep the fire hot.
Yes.
Which is like essentially the same thing. But that's like a very important theme throughout the rest of the film. So then after they've all talked and they're kind of like, what the hell was that? It's sort of decided by everyone that it might not be a good time to like leave necessarily, but to instead just like try to ride out the storm as much as they can. And then they'll try to go and find Beth, you know, at a later time or when at least like the weather clears up a little bit. So they do decide to board up the doors and the windows and then...
They did that really fast. And where did that wood come from?
I also have a question because does boarding up windows and
Work?
doors even work?
Clearly not, as we will see.
We've seen it so many times, right? Like done and things. And I understand that a nail can be strong, but realistically, how strong? Like, could you kick that in?
Krampus can. So they've boarded up the windows and are kind of just trying to get their game plan for the evening, you know, probably get some rest. And Max says to Tom, his dad, that Omi's been acting different since the storm. And Dad says she always gets a little weird around Christmas. And I'm like, well, this means something.
As they're kind of talking about just making it through the night, essentially, Linda tries to kind of have a little bit of a comforting moment with Sarah, and she just let her know, like, you know, I think Beth is going to be okay. She's a really strong girl and she takes after her mom. And so it's like kind of a little sweet like sister moment. And then simultaneously Howard is, you know, hanging out with Tom, and Howard has like a sweet moment, Uncle Howard, where he kind of thanks Tom for saving his life. And he's like, and he literally says, I wrote this down, I'm sorry for thinking you were such a spineless dick all of these years. And Tom's like, okay, kind of a backhanded compliment, but like, thanks.
Let's put a filter on our words, you know?
Yeah. Howard is like, we should probably like take watch. Howard and Tom are both like, yeah, we should probably, someone should stay up. And Howard's like, you know what? You sleep with your family. I will take like first watch of the night.
He did say that.
We have this scene of the whole family sleeping like in the living room. Everyone is passed out. The fire is low. And they have an iPad, which is what they use to like play a movie, I think, for the kids before they went to sleep. And it's actually playing Silent Night. And, so you kind of have that like just that feeling, that ambiance. And then you see the battery of the iPad and it's at 1%. And Silent Night all of a sudden just cuts.
1% everybody's fear. So people are trying to rest. And then we see this scene of like, we hear some stuff coming from the chimney. Also, low-key, I have stuff coming from my chimney now that I think about it. Pretty sure it's a bird in there, but now it's going to freak me the fuck out.
Have you had a fire yet?
No.
Oh, burn that fucker out.
Dude, it's an animal.
What else are you going to do? He needs to figure it out.
Okay. Whoa.
I'm sorry, I'm not usually that morbid, but like, come on.
We also
survival of the fittest.
We also didn't light a fire in our old house for 5 years because we had a bird in there too. But we're like, did it follow us?
Why are we just now finding out you've had 2 birds potentially in your chimneys? Is this an omen for something?
You're welcome. So we hear some noises coming from the chimney inside the house, and we start to see this chain with a hook at the end of it coming down. Very ominous. And there's a gingerbread doll attached to it. And I thought it was a doll. It's clearly trying to like make noise and be kind of cute and get a kid's attention. So Howie Jr., being the little hungry man he is, he's like, oh my God, a gingerbread man.
He's all, okay.
On a chain. This is normal. Honestly, drunk Allie would probably do the same.
You would 100%. You'd be like, hell yeah.
Fuck yeah.
If mine was like 5 cheese ziti from Olive Garden, I'd be like, yeah, absolutely.
If I'm White Clawed up enough, dumbass Charlie / Howie Jr. goes for it. He takes a bite of it, which kind of strikes me because it looks like a plush doll.
See, I thought it sort of looked cake-like.
He takes a bite, and then gingerbread homie fucking comes to life and is like, what the fuck?
The gingerbread's like, bitch, did you just take a bite out of my head? It kind of reminds me of Shrek a little bit.
Oh, same. We love Shrek. And then, so the gingerbread man starts like wrapping the chain around Charlie and basically drags him up the chimney, and everybody wakes up and is like, oh, fuck.
And you just see his little freaking feet outside the bottom of the chimney, like about to be sucked up. And I'm like, A, can he fit? B, can these little gingerbread lift him? No offense.
Believe in the magic of Christmas.
Yeah. And then C, I don't know why it literally brings me right back to Toni Collette when she floats up into the weird little house in Hereditary.
I thought about that too.
I also think about it again in a later scene, and we'll talk about that.
I bet I thought about it the same scene. Mm-hmm. Love that brainwave length for us.
Yeah.
He's getting dragged up. Also, if Santa can fit, I'm pretty sure dumbass Charlie can fit.
You're right. I mean, I think about like the Santa Claus with like Tim Allen, and they have like the logic about like how they make it into all of the chimneys. So
this is where I kind of gathered that the gingerbread men are a thing in this movie. And fun fact is, one of the gingerbread men that we hear throughout this film is voiced by Seth Green.
When I found that out, I thought that was insane because you would like obviously never really just know that, I feel like, off the top of your head, but it's hilarious.
I also read that in Max's room, he has posters of like robot chicken and stuff.
Yeah. So another fun fact about that too, Allie, is that we don't know exactly which one, I guess, but some of the gingerbread men are also voiced by Justin Roiland, who does voices for Rick and Morty, which is a super popular cartoon. That's kind of like Comedy Central, Robot Chicken, Adult Swim-esque.
Word. I think my brothers watch that.
Yep.
And they love it.
I love Rick and Morty, actually. Okay, so anyways, moving on.
So dumbass Charlie / Howie Jr., people are trying to save him, obviously, but it does not work.
Yeah, Sarah, actually, Toni Collette's character tries to like grab his legs, and then it becomes like this chain of people that are like trying to pull him down, but somehow the gingerbread men are stronger. And
then we get a very calm and ominous scene where Omi is like, yes, this is happening, and I'm going to tell you why.
So yeah, at this point, unfortunately, little Howie Jr., he has gone bye-bye up the chimney. And poor Sarah is very traumatized by what she saw. You can tell that she's like, holy fuck, what was that? And Omi lights the fire again, and she kind of tells everyone, especially the kids, she's like, this is all our fault, and he has come for us all. And then she ends up telling the kids about the story of Krampus and how when she was a little girl in her village, they had given up a lot of miracles and they've given up on each other and just kind of like forgotten the spirit of Christmas and the sacrifice of giving. And it's important to note here that as she's telling this story, we're actually seeing it kind of in stop motion. And this is a ode to what was the name?
The Christmas movies, Frankenbach. I love those.
Yeah, those, like, you guys all know, like those old school stop motion Christmas films, right? And this is like paying an homage to them. And she really like gave up believing that at that time when she was a young girl, and she actually had wished for her family to go away, which is going to kind of play into something towards the end of the film. So keep that, you know, in mind. She also explains that Krampus, who she believes is sort of the thing that is attacking her family, is the shadow of Saint Nicholas. And in her childhood story, she explains how Krampus came and actually took her parents away from her. And he left this little bell that says Krampus on it. It's this very old looking antique bell. And he had left it for her as a reminder of what happens when the Christmas spirit dies. And so as this is all happening, Howard is kind of freaking out, Uncle Howard, and he's just like, he just doesn't believe any of it. He's like, are we really going to listen to this old senile person, you know, with her story? This is not the work of a, you know, mythological creature named Krampus. And he's just like, no. And he is like, we got to get out there. They have now taken my son. They have taken your daughter, and we got to get out there. And he tries to go out the front door, takes all the boards down. He actually, as they open the door, he sees a little snowman, and it looks kind of like Howie Jr. if someone made a little snowman of him.
Also, there are a bajillion more snowmans. Like, who the fuck made those?
And they actually see a little person or thing. It's very unclear what it is, kind of like skip from one to the next, like hiding behind them. So that's also kind of creepy as well. Sarah shuts the door immediately and is like, no one open this. Like, we are not doing this anymore. Then, you know, they kind of are like, we are going to keep the fire hot. Mm-hmm. And again, we're kind of coming back to like keeping the fire on, keeping the fire hot.
Or keeping your jack-o'-lantern lit.
Oh. Ooh, we love a little tie-in. So then the kids are kind of talking with Omi now, and they're asking, you know, how does this whole Krampus thing work? How do you know, like, if he's going to come for you or not? Like, and does it matter if you're good all year? And she says, you know, it's not really about that, but it's about what you believe. And it's about what you have given up to sacrifice for the Christmas holiday. It's about giving. Then she says something in German, and no one is really like kind of understanding exactly what she's saying. And Aunt Dorothy at this point actually says, she said we're fucked, which I love because people are like, wait, what's Omi saying? Like, she's speaking in German, and Aunt Dorothy's like, she says we're fucked. So it's very fun. And they're like, how do you know? How you don't speak German? And she's like, I understand when we are literally like
being fucked. Yeah.
Basically.
The mom and dad start to devise a plan to go find the missing kids, obviously, as any parent would. They have a bunch of kids still left at home to protect, but let's go into a blizzard and find the other ones. I'm not sure. I'm not a parent. I don't know what I would do.
I think they're thinking just about like the snowplow, and they're like, maybe that can somehow be our saving grace in some way.
It's a stretch, but like, yeah.
Gotta think outside the bun. So as this is happening, Aunt Linda notices kind of a weird present under the tree that looks a little bit like a jack-in-the-box. And I want to mention that she's actually brought these presents from under the tree back up to the attic because she is trying to rewrap them. They've just gotten kind of unwrapped, and there was a little bit of fire stuff going on a little earlier that I think we forgot to mention, but it's all right. It's all here nor there. But she's like, I just want to rewrap the presents for the kids. And she notices this jack-in-the-box present. And as she's kind of like looking at it and about to unwrap it, then Sarah, her sister, comes in and they kind of start chatting. But as this is simultaneously happening,
the two older sister cousins, Stevie and Jordan, are like, fuck, we have to shit, but Aunt Dorothy clogged the downstairs toilet. So they go upstairs, which is no adults are up there at the moment.
Yeah.
And they're just like looking for the bathroom. I'm not sure why it takes them so long to find a fucking bathroom, but they hear some voice and they think it might be Beth, who's obviously our first girl. And they're like, oh my God, Beth. And they start talking to this voice.
Yeah, they're like, Beth, everyone is looking for you. Like, what, you've been up here this whole time? Like, what the hell?
Who the fuck are you talking to?
It also does not sound like Beth at all. So they're just dumb.
100%. And then we cut to a scene downstairs where we hear female screaming. And I'm like, well, shit.
Yeah. And as this is happening, obviously the parents are panicking and they hear the girl screaming. They go up to investigate. And simultaneously, Max kind of tells Omi that this might all be his fault. And he's starting to, I think, put the pieces together between what he wished at the very beginning of the movie, where he wished his family to all go away and that he hated Christmas, and what is happening right now and what Omi has told him about her own experience with Krampus. And then up in the attic, they don't find Beth. They don't even really find the girls, but Aunt Linda notices that some of the presents that she was just like wrapping and kind of like looking at have been opened and like busted open, like almost like something from inside of them has gotten out.
What I will say is up until this point, it's kind of been a slow burn, and now all fucking chaos
Oh my God.
ensues.
It's like action packed.
Yes.
At this point, it's going to be a long, it's going to be a ride. So everyone buckle up.
Get on this roller coaster with us, people.
And, at this point, we have Linda, Tom, and Sarah of the parents up in the attic investigating. And I want to note that Uncle Howard, he has his injured foot downstairs. And so he's kind of keeping watch of everything like downstairs. And in the corner of the attic, Linda, Tom, and Sarah find a huge demonic looking Jack-in-the-Box that once they shine a light on it, they can see that it is in the process of swallowing one of Linda and Howard's daughters. And I just want to note, I think this thing is so fucking cool.
Oh, I did not think that's what you were going to say.
Imagine a Jack-in-the-Box, but like 12 times the size, like bigger than a human, but not like too outrageously huge, swallowing a human. And its face has like expanded outwards to where it has like very sharp teeth, and the mouth looks like it has like opened up wider than like a normal mouth would look. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of some of the effects that were in like the latest renditions of It.
I was going to say It. That's where I thought you were going.
Yeah.
It, yes.
And I just think it's so cool and so impressive. I really appreciate some of the more practical effects in this film. Mm-hmm. There are some like CGI effects, there's just things like the little gingerbread men. Like there's things that you just can't do practically that easily. But I do think that this little Jack-in-the-Box guy is so terrifying and looks very real.
100%. It definitely reminded me of It. And I want to know how that Jack-in-the-Box grew so fucking fast and so big.
Yeah, because it went from like an actual regular size Jack-in-the-Box to now it's swallowing human-sized children.
As the producer would say, it's a movie.
Magic. Now he's changing his tune and he's saying magic. And Tom has brought his gun, smart man, Eagle Scout man, mind you, and he tries to shoot it. Then meanwhile, downstairs, we see Uncle Howard, and he is kind of cornered in like a little corner of the kitchen by the island, and he starts being randomly shot with a nail gun. And when he looks at where the shooting is coming from, it's literal little gingerbread.
And it looks like the gingerbread like they had made a gingerbread house and it had already been there, and then the gingerbread man was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, they're like, fuck this dude.
And
let's shoot him.
They're high-key very cute, and I love them, and I want to be one of them.
And I could actually see you as one.
Thank you very much.
I think you were one in another life.
If you haven't watched the movie, just go watch that scene because it's adorable.
I do think it's like actually really, I have a note about it. So then we're back up in the attic, and Sarah now gets attacked by another weird demonic toy, and it is an angel that looks so weird. It almost looks like, first of all, she looks up into the rafters and it comes down and attacks her as if it was like a bird or an owl. But it's supposed to be, I think, like an angel, like atop a tree or like, one of those kind of things. And this thing attacks the shit out of her. Basically, all of the parents that are upstairs are being attacked by like a different toy.
Yes, they've all become large Christmas toys that want to kill you. And I'm like, wouldn't you fucking bail after the snake clown Jack-in-the-Box thing?
That thing was so terrifying. That was arguably the most terrifying out of all the things we're about to see. But yeah, so she gets attacked by like the snow angel thing. Then Aunt Linda all of a sudden gets attacked by a demonic teddy bear that bites the shit out of her. And then at the same time, Tom is getting attacked by a transformer looking toy that literally stabs him with its like weird transformer claws.
When we said it just all of a sudden turns into pure
literal
chaos. Like,
yep, it's chaos.
But we got a W.
We got a W.
We got two W's.
We got two W's.
The adults start fighting back.
They do.
That's a W.
Yep.
And then one of the two cousin sisters, don't remember which one.
She gets out of the mouth of the Jack-in-the-Box.
We discover that she's rescuable, and that's a W.
Yeah.
We got two.
And arguably a third W, because then when we're back downstairs with Uncle Howard, He shoots these little gingerbread men. Half of them light on fire. And then this is probably my favorite scene in the entire film. One of the gingerbread men has a sharpened candy cane in its hand about to come towards Uncle Howard and stab him. I mean, arguably, like, how serious could that actually be if it's a candy cane? But
and why are you like so terrified of it?
Yeah, why, like, you could swat that thing out of the way. But anyways, as this gingerbread man has jumped up into the air, it's slow-mo. It's coming at Uncle Howard. Just picture this, right? And he's just like, he kind of is like, he's kind of turning away like, oh shit, because he shot his last bullet, right, of the gun. And then at the same time, his dog, Rosie, who I don't think that we've mentioned, but she is a very important character now at the end. She swoops in and just eats the gingerbread man. Like, it's like not a big deal. And he's just like, good girl, Rosie. And I just know Cowboy would do that for me.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean? Like, he'd be like, no way.
I'm pretty sure my cats
would do that as well.
Oh, 100% not.
Oh, yeah. They'd be like, sorry, Mom.
Bitch, you're on your own.
They would like lick the blood coming out of your wound.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Especially actually both of them. Yeah.
Oh my God. And then I had a real rabbit hole moment just now in my brain. Then you would like turn into Catwoman, like
I
Michelle
love
Pfeiffer.
this.
Yeah. Michelle Pfeiffer and freaking, Batman Return. You know what we're talking about.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. Anyways, we're back in the attic where the chaos is ensuing. And the angel is now tying lights around Sarah and tries to hang her with the lights, which also gives me flashbacks to Hereditary. This was such a foreshadowing. I wonder if
We've thought about
Ari
that.
Aster, right? Is that who did Hereditary? I wonder if they saw this and they were like, piano string.
Sorted, probably not, but like, yeah.
I don't know. It's a mom.
But it made me think about that too.
Same. So anyways, then the Jack in the Box is trying to, escape this. He's like, it's actually kind of funny. He's almost like panicking, like, get me the fuck out of here. Like, and he's like shoving himself through an air duct. But by the way, we just mentioned like, he's like 12 times the size of an actual Jack in the Box now. So he's pretty big. And he's just like trying to shove himself through after he's like tried to eat children and he has a child in his stomach. And he's just like pushing his way through. And Aunt Linda finds an axe in the attic and she just is like, fuck this. Like, I am going to fight back and like, fuck all these people. She cuts down the Christmas lights that are hanging Sarah, gets her down. Then she takes the axe and she hits the Transformer toy that's like stabbing Tom. And then she's like about to try to stab the Jack in the Box. And right as she like swings, of course, the Jack in the Box makes it through the air duct. And now he's like on his way sneaking through the internal tunnels of the house. Once we're back downstairs, we see everyone come back down there to like kind of all be together. And they can kind of hear some stuff going on in the air ducts. They hear things kind of going on within like the interior of the house. And they like tell Rosie, the dog, to just get in there. So Rosie goes into the air duct and she tries to attack the Jack in the Box. But again, we don't see this. Like, we are at the perspective of the family kind of downstairs, but like they're looking up at the ceiling because they can hear the commotion going on within the air ducts. And we hear kind of a tussle. You hear some dog noises, you hear some weird demonic Jack in the Box noises, and then things like kind of go silent, which like makes me sad because I'm like, oh my God, I hate movies where like a dog is like getting injured or anything's happening with them. But then all of a sudden the Jack in the Box falls through the ceiling into the living room and is just like, oh fuck. Like, he's just like there. And then all the demonic toys end up back in the living room. So now we've got that freaking demonic angel. We've got the demonic teddy bear. And at this point, everyone is trying to fight for their lives. Again, we already said that this was chaos, but it's like more chaotic than ever. And Aunt Dorothy has a gun and she shoots them all like the badass that she is. Once the toys are shot, we do hear some other stuff coming from outside. And Omi knows immediately. And she goes, elves.
She's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
The elves are coming.
And so they literally break down the front door of the house. Now we have this gaping, huge front door hole in the house. And I want to mention too that chains are very big in this film. Like, everyone has chains. The elves have chains. Krampus has chains. Like, I just feel like chains are everywhere.
Kind of like the bus kids in Trick or Treat.
Allison.
I know. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So anyways, lots of chains going on. And they come in and they actually like start to wrap chains around Aunt Dorothy. And like one of my favorite parts is she actually gets like yeeted through the front door and it makes it like a meow. Like,
she low-key was just like, I'll see you.
So easy.
She was like, see you in hell.
Which, respect.
Respect.
Totally.
I probably would have done like, I give up.
Yeah. It's also kind of sad because I also don't know if we mentioned this, but there is a baby, and baby Chrissy does get taken as well, which is kind of sad. And then
Uncle Eddie also rides off
on the Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box.
Because he is determined to get his boy, Howie Jr. So he's kind of like, fuck this. And he rides like a bull, the Jack in the Box, out through the front door. And a fun fact I actually found out about this is that many of Krampus's minions are actually real Christmas and winter folk figures in European cultures, such as like the Yule goat, which is Scandinavia. And then there's also some creatures like with like Icelandic names that are named after some of the Icelandic like Yule people who are said to visit the homes of people like within the 13 nights before Christmas. So I think like the elves are like a little bit a part of that too as well. So it all kind of like goes back to this like ancient German, Austrian, European folklore, which I thought was kind of cool. And then as all of this has happened, the elves then hear this like weird noise. And like, I don't know, like, how would you describe that noise? It's kind of like
they like seemed, okay, so first of all, the elves like weren't really doing that much. They
no.
just,
They were
like,
more like just like cleaning house.
and like taunting and being like,
They're being silly.
we're the pregame.
Like Krampus is coming.
Krampus is coming, and now we know that. And all the elves are like, fuck, let's leave. Maybe they're scared of their master, not really sure. But one of the last elves kind of stands on the windowsill that they broke out of and is like, hee. And I was like, oh, you cutie.
Yeah.
And then we kind of get the signs that Krampus is coming, and Omi is like, fuck. For a second, she tries to relight the fire because
she's like kind of desperately like trying to like light a match and get the fire going, which is kind of sad.
And
because again, what has she said this entire film? Keep the fire hot.
But meanwhile, mom and dad, Sarah and Tom, are like, we're getting the fuck out of here. And
yeah, they're like, basically at this point, our best bet is to still stick with that plan of like going to the snowplow. Like, so, that's all we can do.
Exactly. And we're grasping at straws here, trying to save our lives. We kind of hear some house rattling, shaking, dust coming from the chimney. We also start to hear like a Santa song. I don't remember which one it is. I was like, are we finally get to fucking see Krampus?
Well, and like as this is all happening, Omi stays behind. And this is a really important note because her family's like, come on, Omi, we gotta go. And she shuts the door on them because it's, inferred. She's like, I kind of need to just face Krampus like alone.
She's like,
and I'm gonna save you guys, basically.
Yeah, she's like, nah, I'm cool. I'm gonna confront this fucker. And like sacrifices herself essentially.
Yeah. And then even Max and like Tom, who's her son, like, and her grandson, they're like, no, Omi, da-da-da-da. But they're also like, no, dude, like, we get it. Like, she wants to face him.
No, they were like, word, bye.
Yeah.
So Omi's back in the house. She's locked herself in.
And she knows what's about to go down.
I know. Well, I don't know if she knows, but she's like, it's not going to be good. And we finally start to see Krampus coming down that chimney, and he comes out. And
I love this part though. Like before you say he like fully comes out. I love this part. And I think it's another good example of like practical effects. Like to me, he like comes out, it's like horns first. Like we see the horns on like a side profile view of them coming out of the chimney, and they're huge, long, just like rounded horns. And then you just see this huge figure like come out with his hooves and his like dark Santa garb, like just trying to create like the visual for everyone. But that scene like totally stuck with me, and I really appreciated like all the effects that probably were put into that.
No, it was like beautifully done and like well done to.
I literally have it in my effects. Practical effects were Gucci. Is that what the kids say? I don't know. I tried.
I think that's what we say, and it's probably out of style now.
Well, whatever. You heard it here last.
So he's down. He's got his tongue out. He's touching her face. It's kind of sensual. He's like,
"Hello, a little sensual.
Hello, my precious.
Hello, darkness,
my old friend." Literally. And then in my notes I say, and after all this buildup, he opens up his sack of smaller demon toys, and I guess that's what gets her.
He opens up this bag, and she looks into it, and the toys kind of
yeet at her. And then, so meanwhile, the remaining families outside in the fucking blizzard, and we still have mom, dad, Aunt Linda, Max, and one of the older women cousins, like the older lady cousin. Stevie.
With the glasses.
Right. And I didn't see her at all like during the elf scene. And I was like, did I miss something? No, she's still there. And then we start to see the snow snakes again.
Yeah, total. The tremors.
So we start to see that, and Tom, the dad, is like, snow tremors, go save yourself. I got this.
So what can we do?
What can, there's only so much.
Yeah, and he has a gun, so I think in his head, he's like kind of like, well, I'm going to try at least to use this as much as I possibly can to get you guys as far as you can to get to the snowplow.
A little, no, not me, not Hermione, not you.
Hold on, let's start that over. Not me, not Hermione, you.
But in the opposite and like a bad way.
But like, May.
But May. And then, we see him yeeted by the snow snake. And I was like, by Michael Scott. And then I was like, I'm pretty sure Michael Scott was not in Parks and Rec. Is that a different one?
That's The Office.
So after Dad's been yeeted, as we keep saying, basically in a very fast fashion, Aunt Linda and Mom also basically like kind of give up and give the kids a chance to get away.
I have this in my notes though as like a very sad scene, kind of like it's like one after another. All the parents are down, and I feel like just as a kid who like my parents are still around, like I just think that like that's like so sad.
No, and it's a very, very fast fashion in which this happens. So now we have Max and Stevie that are in the snowplow that they've been trying to get to. And I'm like, okay, well, Max is like 8 or 10 or something. How does he know how to drive?
True.
But he doesn't end up doing that, so it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. The snow snake, as I was watching this, there's like a troll-like thing that comes up to the window that grabs Stevie. It's like a troll-like thing.
I thought it was one of the elves.
Okay, maybe it's an elf. Mm. Also looks reminiscent of the Bus Kids. The artistic design.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's so true. In Trick or Treat.
Or Treat. And they grab Stevie, so Stevie's out.
Stevie's been yeeted.
Steven, again, poor thing.
So many yeets.
Got so many yeets for Stevie. And Max is like, what the fuck? He jumps out of the snowplow, and all of a sudden, our man Krampus is there. And he's like, here's your shredded Santa letter, bitch. Congrats on getting your family killed. And then he's like, I'm gonna bounce.
Yeah, he like does exactly what happens to Omi. He leaves Max by himself. Like, now your whole family is gone for various reasons, and you are just by yourself, sir. And here's this little fucking bell to remember me. A bauble. Is that what it's called? A bauble?
A bauble. Okay, so I took it as something a little differently. So producer says the gift, besides the letter, his shredded Christmas letter, is a bell that is a bauble. Not sure what that means. I took it as a bell, which I will tie all of this back together to the Polar Express.
Oh, good God. Jesus Christ. Okay.
Yes. So
Allie loves the Polar Express. I actually saw something today on Instagram that was like somewhere that Polar Express is like real. And I was like, I should take Allie.
Max has been given this gift of litter and a bell. A bauble.
Litter.
And Krampus is like, I'm a dip. And then we see Max is like now this determined bitch where we haven't seen him put in much effort this entire film to like save his family.
He's like, no, I'm not just going to accept that my family's gone, which is a little different from Omi's story because Omi just, unfortunately, but she just accepted her fate, where Max is like, nah, nodded.
Not today.
Well, and he kind of hears Stevie kind of off in the distance screaming. And I think to him, he's like, if there's even a smidgen of a chance that I could rescue a family member, I'm gonna try it.
It's an interesting one to save.
Yeah.
No shade.
Yeah, but like,
gotta do what
nothing, I guess.
True. You can go through your trauma together.
And Max ends up finding where he's like hearing Stevie like screaming, and it's this weird, like, I can only describe it as like a weird kind of fun little party that they're like having.
Weird.
Yeah. Like all the elves have gathered, like Krampus is there, they have Stevie, and they're just kind of holding on to her, not really doing anything to her, but just like not letting her go.
Yeah. And she's the only one we see, I guess, because she's like the newest captor. But yeah, they're just like hanging out. And Max is like, hey, asshole, I take back my wish, and throws the bell at him.
He says, give me back my family. Which
daggers
we did want to bring up because that is different from Omi. Again, like I said, Omi just accepted her fate. And so we're kind of hoping that maybe with him like asking for what he wants. I mean, just ask for what you want in life, girl.
So it's kind of while you're watching it, you're like, maybe Krampus has a heart. Or like
you're
something.
Wondering. You're like, Is he gonna maybe do something right this time?
So he's like, I just want my family back. And Krampus is like, nah. And then the earth opens up to hell.
I literally said in my notes, I said, the ground starts cracking and now there's a hell pit.
Yeah.
And you have seen a hell pit so many times. I know all of you at some point in time or another have seen a hell pit and you know exactly what we're talking about. And it looks exactly the same.
Every single time, actually. Yes.
It's a hell pit.
Even with the hell pit opening up, Max is like, bro, Krampus, you can fix this.
Yeah, he's like, it's not too late, brother.
He's like, I know you can. And he's like, take me instead.
He's like, stop yeeting.
Start
me. Needing.
Great.
Needing love.
Needing love in his heart, yes. Max is trying to change Krampus's non-existent heart. Even the Grinch has 3 times the heart of Krampus.
I literally was going to say, is he going to do what the Grinch does? Turn a page.
Because he wipes, kind of like
he wipes a tear off of Max's sweet little baby face.
Kind of like he touches Omi's face. So I was like, okay, maybe he's going to change his heart. Because I was blacked out the last time I saw this movie, so I did not know how it ended.
I love all the honesty.
And we were all about honesty here. And he was like, oh, maybe. And then he's like, no.
Oh, maybe.
But then he's like, nah, word, I'll just take you too.
Yeah.
As well as the rest of your family.
He's like, everyone's actually getting yeeted. So they throw Stevie.
They yeet him.
Well, did they throw Stevie in already?
Stevie's already thrown in, so
sorry, I missed.
Krampus is like, you wanted to come down here too? I'm gonna yeet you into this fire pit of hell. And he does.
To finish things off, guys, we're almost done. We are back in Max's room and he is waking up and he's kind of in a little tiny bit of a panic when he wakes up, and he's kind of like, I'm back in my bed. Yes, it's snowing outside, but it's not like a blizzard. And he goes downstairs to his family enjoying Christmas morning like nothing happened. And people are literally like, they're like, where have you been? Oh, we thought like, you know, you were never going to wake up or whatever. And then I love Aunt Dorothy says, I haven't felt this hungover since the Pope died. Which I love. And they're kind of asking him like, you okay? Blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, I think I just had like a bad dream, I guess. And then they're like passing around some presents and Max is opening, his first present. And he opens it up and it is a bauble. And this is the same bell that Omi had and that he got throughout this whole thing with Krampus. And it has Krampus's name on it. And he opens it in front of everybody. And then they all see like what he has just opened. And then everyone sort of looks around at each other like, almost like they all kind of remember and shared the same experience together. Like everyone's sort of like, there's like whispers going around in like the soundtrack kind of, and everyone's looking around sort of like, oh shit, that actually was all real.
And as they're like all kind of realizing that together, the shot pans out to the exterior of the house and it keeps going and we see the reveal that they are actually now in a snow globe in Krampus's snow globe village. And I'm like, oh cute, they're all stuck in like snow globe hell.
So cute.
And I'm like, does it mean that Christmas is every day now? Not sure if I'd like that or hate that.
Well, and yeah, and you're like not really sure if like they even know that they're stuck in a snow globe or if it's just one of the many worlds, many homes, whatever that Krampus like inhabits or goes to. And this part is kind of cool because when it does pan out from like Max's house and we see that like he's in a snow globe, it's like now we're in Krampus's like weird like cave or whatever. His lair. And there are thousands of snow globes around. And as they're panning out, it's going kind of fast. But we read a really fun fact. And now that we've watched it a couple times, we've noticed it, that some of these snow globes actually have like old iconic houses from other like iconic horror movies. Like there is the Bates Motel, the Bates like house from Psycho as well. Michael Dougherty's like childhood home he has like in there. And so there's like a couple of like different houses that if you catch, you're like, oh, that's fucking cool. Like that house is like in the snow globe. And then that's literally it.
Well, and I will say,
and then we're done.
I might rewatch some of the scenes to catch those little Easter eggs. And also my dad loves snow globes. So shout out to Dave. And
shout out Dave.
Maybe one day I'll be in a snow globe.
Oh my God. I would love to have you. Can I have you in a snow globe?
Absolutely.
Will you have me in one?
Absolutely. I'm going to die first though.
Okay. Well, then I'll put you in a snow globe.
Thank you.
Okay. So Allie, first off, did you think that this film was scary?
Fuck no.
I agree. Which I can usually find something in a horror film to try to see if it is scary, but I just like, there wasn't really, I think this, to be honest, the scariest thing to me was the Jack in the Box. I would say if you were not planning on watching this film at all, at least like Google or YouTube that fucking Jack in the Box, because that thing is terrifying.
It was more like, it was to me more artistic and
totally.
folklore-y and fantasy. It's not scary at all.
Did you have a favorite scene?
My favorite scene was when we knew that Santa, or it's not Santa, wow, Freudian slip.
Santa's shadow.
Oh, wow, Santa's shadow. Not even Santa. So
Santa's dead.
When we knew, so when right before the elves are coming, there's this really cute moment when the big and large demonic toys are still attacking, but they know Krampus is coming, and the large Jack-in-the-Box is like clapping really cutely, and he's like, oh my god,
I know exactly what you're talking about. Actually, that was really like funny and cute.
So that I love that.
My favorite scene, which I already mentioned, is when Rosie the dog eats the little gingerbread man like it was absolutely nothing, because I just feel like Cowboy would do the same thing, and yeah, I love that.
So we all agree it's not scary. It's just like a cutesy little comedic horror with fantasy elements and, you know, holiday spirit. And I got a couple of hot takes, and bear with me on this one. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
Go ahead.
Okay. Listeners, follow me down this, okay? I mentioned this once before. This movie is the Polar Express.
Okay, here we go.
So it's a child who's questioning his belief in Christmas. And
I'm following.
He goes down. So we're
Can I
similar.
have a little more wine for this? All right, I'm ready.
Okay. It was a child questioning his beliefs in Christmas in both of these films. And then we go down this rabbit hole of a journey. This seemingly.
And when you say both of these films,
The Polar Express and Krampus. Krampus. Wow. Children, their beliefs are becoming less because they're like, we're getting older, blah, blah,
they're
blah.
on the cusp of like not believing.
Totally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So in both Krampus, why can't I say that now?
Krampusnacht.
And Polar Express, they're like, we don't know. And then they go on this wildly unbelievable journey.
True. Okay.
And the lesson there is believing. And then they both receive a bell in that long, wild journey at the end. Pause. Don't. I'm speaking. Sorry. So they both receive a bell from Santa or Krampus. And then they wake up after this incredibly wild journey to this like seeming normal Christmas day. And then what do they both receive?
The bell.
The bell. This is the Polar Express. Krampus is Polar Express.
Is this almost like Stranger Things where it's the upside down of the Polar Express?
Let's go with that. I mean? Yes. Tom Hanks is Krampus.
I also have one question because I haven't seen Polar Express in a long while. Does anyone get yeeted?
In certain ways, yes.
All right. Then I'm on board.
Thank you.
With that theory.
You're on board of the Polar Express.
Fuck.
Yes. You're welcome.
Krampusnacht.
You guys, listeners, everyone here, you're welcome.
Wow.
What are your hot takes?
I don't even know where to go from
Did
there.
I just blow your mind?
You just blew my mind. Okay, so rounding out our trivia, guys. So get your answers out that we answered at the very top of the episode. Question number 1. What does Krampus translate to? And this is derived from the German word Krampen. What did you write?
Sure.
Sure.
These were actually very good trivia questions. Thank you, producer. Yeah. Number 1, I literally have no idea, so put Demon Santa.
I literally put Christmas demon.
There we go.
And
what's the answer?
The answer actually was the claw.
The claw?
Let's do it again together.
The claw?
Oh my God. The claw.
The white claw?
Well, definitely got that one wrong.
So the second question was, how is Dorothy related to Max? What did you put, Emma?
His great aunt.
I just put aunt.
Ha, ha. Right? I got it. Producer? Okay.
God. I was going to put great aunt and I got lazy.
I just thought about because she's Sarah's aunt and I was like, well, Max is her son. So I got that right. Number 3, what was the name of the supermarket? Or I don't believe it's is it a supermarket? Okay. I guess you're right. It's a supermarket. In the opening sequence, Allie, what did you put?
New Zealand market.
I said big savings. I was like, I don't know. The answer to number 3 is Mucho Mart. Which now that I think about it, it's like I literally had it pictured in my head. I just could not answer it for the life of me.
That's also weird. I don't know why to me, but.
So anyways, I'll just say it, but I think I'm beating you so far based on our last episode.
You're one point ahead of me.
I'm one round ahead of you. Yeah.
Okay.
But okay, guys. And also one thing that we forgot because we were just so excited and we already did this like 8 times before we even started recording. But Allie, cheers to episode 10. This is awesome. So cheers.
Ciao.
God, sorry, that was kind of loud. But cheers to us. Cheers to episode 10. Cheers to Krampus not.
Feliz Krampus not.
So yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Spooky Chicks and Horror Flicks. We are so excited to be back in action, and this was a very fun film to be covering as we're kind of like in the Christmas Krampusnacht spirit, and we can't wait to review our next Christmas movie for you guys. Yeah, please, if you have not already and you are a lover of the show, please leave us a 5-star review on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts or wherever it is that you listen to us. And if you don't like the podcast, please don't review. And we also ask that you follow us on social media. We have TikTok, Instagram, all the fun things at Spooky Chicks and Horror Flicks. And as a reminder too, you can subscribe to be a patron on Patreon and support our podcast. And Allie, any closing thoughts?
Just want to thank you guys for sticking with us and giving us a little bit of a little break during the November season. We just needed all that turkey and mashed potato time.
We were sleeping, tryptophan.
Yeah, gotta love it. But wishing everybody a happy holiday season and excited to be back, and stay spooky, fuckers.